Hey, Ron here, and it's been about a year and a half or so since I've done any videos, but I'm no longer with the company that I was doing the onboard training with, and I sold my Cascadia. It was costing me a fortune to run, so I'm actually back in my 1991 Kenworth W900, and in the last year and a half, a lot of things have happened, but I have to use this Bluetooth microphone because I've had some larynx issues. So back, I'll start doing some more videos. And where I am right now is I am in Truckee, California. Getting ready. I'm heading west on Interstate 80 toward California, and I'm going to start climbing Donner here, um, January 2014. So a lot of you have asked for tips and such on how to float while climbing. I have an 18 speed in this 25-year-old tractor, and we'll be doing the floating method. So on that note, all my lights are on. We'll get moving here. So I have about 25,000 pounds in the box. Okay, merge on, pressure, high range, pressure. I'm going to split, roll off the throttle, back on the throttle, split, pressure, roll off the throttle, shift, back on the throttle, split, roll off the throttle, back on the throttle, split, pressure, neutral into the next gear, off the throttle and back on the throttle, split, roll off the throttle, back on the throttle, split, pressure, roll off the throttle, back to the next gear, roll on the throttle. We are at 55 miles per hour. So we'll start our climb here. There's two segments here. There's one that gets us up to Donner Lake exit. That's about a 5% grade. And the next grade will take us from there to the top of Donner Summit at almost 7,200 feet. Whenever possible, you want to be in the right lane, unless you're passing. Okay, I'm going to split, roll off the throttle, back on the throttle. I will cram as much as I can into this 5 or 6 minutes. Might be a little bit more, but we'll see. Climbing this mountain, doing about 58, that's fine. There's two gauges that you want to have added to your truck if you don't have them in your truck now. One is a pyrometer, and what a pyrometer does is monitors your exhaust temperature at the output of the turbo. Optimally, you don't want to run about 950 to 1,000 degrees. You can start melting things in the engine above that. The other one is your turbo boost gauge. And that turbo boost gauge is going to, of course, let you see just how much turbo boost you've got if you start having issues with your turbo. Oh, excuse me. I did get some sleep last night, trust me. I've been at home a couple of days. And we'll talk about fatigue on a instructional video down the road here, how to identify it, what to do about it, and so on. In any case, a lot of these older engines, they'll pull and pull and pull way down into the RPMs, but as they do, they'll increase the temperature of the exhaust inside of the exhaust. So the way that you cool it down is you simply gear it down. If you continue to try and pull it at a lower RPM and your pyrometer goes above 1,000, 1,050 degrees, then your looking to do some damage or put undue wear on the engine. So simply gear it down. Next thing I wanted to talk about is gear steps. Something like a 10-speed transmission that does not have the splitter on the side have the gear steps, meaning the RPM differences between one gear and another. It's about 450 to 500 RPM. Where a splittable transmission, your 13-speed and your 18-speed, are typically between 2 and 250. What does that help you out at? Well, you can imagine if you had a 500 RPM gear step and you're on a climb, you got to bring your RPMs down further before you can gear down. And so you're down towards a bog, then you gear it, let's say you're at 1100. Then when you gear down on a full step tranny, like a 10-speed, when you gear down, you're up at 1600. So having a splittable transmission will now allow you to do what I'm about to do, which is 200 to 250. I'm going to, I just split it to the lower. I'm going to roll off the throttle, let shift, roll back on the throttle. I just dropped 200 or so RPM, and I've got traffic in the right lane. Clear my lane and get around it. And I'm running 950 degrees on my pyrometer. So I'm doing pretty good at this point. Boosting at almost 30 pounds. I'm going to stay in this lane. There's another truck coming up. Four-wheelers can still get around me in the hammer lane over here. So as the temperature starts to rise, we need to do another gear down. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the splitter into the high position while we're still torquing, so that when we get into the next gear down, we're actually going to split and gear step at the same time to bring it down. We're almost to 1,000, so it's 1,000 degrees at 1,375 RPM. So we need to cool it down. So we're going to pressure on the stick, roll off the throttle, tap the throttle as we were at the gate, and now we're down a half, another 250 RPM. So now I increase the RPMs, and now I'm cooling the engine off. So we'll go back over that again. I put pressure on the stick, rolled off the throttle to neutral, tapped the throttle to bring the RPMs up at 250 RPMs as I was rubbing the gate, and let it suck it into the next lower gear with the splitter in the high side of the next lower gear. So I'm going to stay in this lane, go around this other truck. We're at about 975 and holding, and about 29 pounds. So learn your gear step on your truck. Know what it is, and that's a lot of what you're going to be working with when you're floating. Okay, we just passed that truck, so we'll pull it back over. And as we start to cap, we got to start thinking about what gear we want to be in for the decline on the other side. Your typical rule of thumb is going to be one gear lower than what you climbed it in. And then you'll throw your jake brake on and start doing your braking. And what you want to do on your braking and on your stab braking is you don't want to have to brake more than one time per minute for 5 seconds, no more than 5 seconds. If you're doing that, if you're braking more than for more time and or more than one time per minute, then you've got it in the wrong gear. Okay, I'm going to split, roll out the throttle, let it go into the next gear, back on the throttle. I'm going to bring it up about 55 and hold it there. So you want to be in that next lower gear. But what if you failed to get into the next lower gear before you started your decline? your descent. Well, I'll show you how to do that. I'll purposely leave it in the upper gear, and as we come down, I'll show you how you can achieve this using this floating method. Okay, we're going to be losing the right lane up here. Just checking on the traffic back here. It's kind of thick. Sunlight's really heavy, so it could affect some of my video, but I think we'll have enough. Jake brake on. I am in Jake high. Most of your trucks have at least 2 settings, sometimes 3, but we're going high Jake. And then if you just barely press the throttle, you'll stop the Jake, but not accelerate. Okay. One more 4-wheeler and then we'll get over. And here's where we start to go down. Right lane ends. Pull it over. Now, when you're stab braking, you want to brake 30, 40 pounds of pressure or so down to 5 miles per hour under your safe target speed. Then, that's 60, then you'd be 55. If that's 55, 5 below that, 50 miles per hour, and so on. Now, let's just, excuse me, let's say that I need to gear it down. I could burn my brakes up if I was braking more than 1 time per minute for 5 seconds, and or I can get it down a gear, which is where I would need to be. To do that, we're going to get our RPMs down to about 1300 by braking, but we're going to be ready to get it into the next gear. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of procedures here. I'm going to get this ready to go. I'm going to brake, then I'm going to split up high and then take it up. Okay, we're at 60. I'm going to break it down to 50, braking hard, down to about 1300. Now I just split, rev the engine. Now I'm in that gear and I'm back off the throttle. So what did I do? Let's go back over it. You can rewind the video, but I did my braking first. Got it down to 50. Actually, it was about 48 miles an hour. Was at 1300 RPM. I split, and then rolled a little bit on the throttle to get the torque off of the gear. That went to neutral. Then I tapped the throttle up to about 1600, rolled it into the next lower gear, and let off the throttle. Practice it on some hills, and you'll be able to master it. Now the engine is holding us at 58, and I'm not hitting the brakes again. It's starting to slow down, so I'm going to let the Jake off just by barely putting some pressure on the accelerator pedal on the throttle. It's going to come back up on speed, and I'll let off the throttle. Jake comes back on. Now, I've got a noise canceling microphone, so you probably cannot hear the Jake, but that's how you do the stab braking. Rewind the video until you can get it, and that's how you do your floating into lowering your gear and using your Jake. With that, until the next video, have a great day.